okay, 45 days, they'll probably be taken to another country. They'll have a better life. And it was left at that in September 1999.
What happened then? What happened to the 45 days?
Well, it came and went. And 10 years later, we're still here.
The United Nations Health Officer in Mitrovica took the first blood tests back in 2000, and his report recommended moving the Roma camp. UNMIK didn't heed this advice, but it did show some concern for the well-being of the local community. In 2003, the UN built a soccer field, a basketball court and a jogging track, all on toxic land right across from the lead slag heap. The gypsies were encouraged to exercise here, which would mean opening up their lungs and increasing the amount of lead dust they were inhaling. The UN called this the Alley of Health.
They knew something was wrong, but everybody has this great faith in the UN. And many times the people would say to me, if there was something wrong, the UN would save us, the UN would treat us.
It was the death of a child in 2004 that brought home the terrible risk of bringing up children in the camps. 4-year-old Janita Mehmeti had started losing her memory and was complaining about pain in her legs. After spending 3 months in hospital, she died.
And suddenly every family realized that they had a Janita. They saw their children losing their memories. They saw all the symptoms of lead poisoning. They didn't know it was lead poisoning, but they saw the symptoms. And they all became petrified, especially the mothers.
And did they come and talk to you about this?
Yes.
What would they say to you?
Save our children. Something's wrong. Save our children.
Prvi put ja ne znam ni kako izgleda olovo. A da osjećao sam da moja deca imali su boleve u glavu, u stomak. Povraćali su temperaturu, a i slabi su bili da nisu već mogli ni barem toliko da snage da imaju da podignu ruku.
In 2004, the World Health Organization took more blood tests and called for UNMIK to immediately evacuate the camps.
2 years later, they decided to close the worst of the 2 camps and move them into a former French NATO base that had been abandoned by the French because of high levels of lead poisoning.
Yeah. Manchester United.
This is Osterode, the former French NATO barracks. It's only 100 metres from the Chessman Lug camp. But after laying down concrete and providing clean drinking water, the UN declared it was a lead-safer environment.
If you compare it to a safe environment in Australia, clearly Osterode is not the best place. But if you compare to what currently is the case, it is a much better alternative for them. Again, as purely a temporary measure that can be done immediately.
This seems like it was only a very cosmetic solution. You say it was short-term, but they were originally told in 1999 they were being moved for 45 days. That was short-term. In 2006, they were moved to Osterode, and this was a short-term solution. It's now 3 years later.
It's always a challenge for us who are not having our own taxpayers, but are relying on international donors.
Vera Obradovic is a local nurse who provides the only health care at Osterode.
Zatvori mi, ljubim te u torbu.
Although this is Europe's worst ever case of lead poisoning, there are no doctors here, no specialist equipment, and no ongoing medical treatment.
Snajka, da uzmeš metlu da obrišeš ovu paučinu. Metlu, kaži joj, i paučinu.
The nurse stresses the importance of good hygiene, which can help reduce lead contamination.
Ovo ti je odlično. Ništa nemaš ovdje.
When the families first moved to Osterod, there was a program to provide them with a better diet. And for a few months, the children received chelating tablets, special pills used to treat lead poisoning.
Ovdje ima godinu dana da niko nije uzeo u obzir ovu decu, a godinu dana se radilo, 3 godine se radilo na olovo.
Nemamo nikog ni ništa. Pa dokle će ovo da traje? Kad ja ostarim meni ništa, šta ću da ostavim ja ovom malom detetu? Šta? Pa ja za 10 godina sam izgubio, ne znam šta da kažem.
There is no food, there is almost no medical care, there are families scavenging for their food in garbage cans.
Yes.
Your language is very careful, but are you not shocked on some level? Are you not horrified by the situation that these families find themselves in after so long?
Absolutely.
Despite the miserable conditions, the World Health Organization says the move to Osterod was a success because the average lead levels of the families here have decreased.
Ovo dete ima 22,3 mikrograma. Ovo dete, drugo njeno dete, 41,9.
But the levels of some Roma have actually risen, and the rest still have blood levels the WHO classes as mildly high.
When you say mildly high, what sort of figures are you talking about?
20, 17, 7, 12.
But given that irreversible brain damage is thought to take place at around 10 micrograms per decilitre, clearly even 17 or 20...
Definitely. It is health emergency, definitely.
So how is it that after all these years, nothing has been done? Part of the problem is political. Last year, the UN handed over control to Kosovo's government. But North Mitrovica is in a Serb enclave that wants to be part of Serbia, not an independent Kosovo. The hostility means that whenever Paul crosses the river to the city's north, he removes his Kosovo number plates or risks being stoned by the local Serbs. In recent years, the international community has started rebuilding the Roma Mahala, their old neighbourhood. But many Roma don't want to live next to the people who forced them out. They're also worried about losing access to social security and health care in Serbia.
Inače, kad bi se vratio u Mahalu, a ne mogu da nađem lek moje deci, i da mi daju neku hranu, ne znam šta, kad ne mogu da ozdravim decu, za mene to bi bio smrt i kao što jeste.